Yo madhuvanam punyam harishcharana charitam chachitam, yes. Ityauktastam parikramya very good. Namya cha nirparbakaha Yayo madhuvanam punyam harishcharana charitam. It's you don't have to today. It's very nice when there is a smaller class to practice the verse, because it doesn't come naturally for most of us, including myself. Also, just to promote, we have in ISKCON a workshop at the weekend. What's his name? Krishna Charan. He does, I think, online. I think it's online, just for reciting verses. It's like an hour and a half this Saturday and Sunday. I hope it's online. Yes, and he made us all in different meter sing, so it's a little tough, but it's very it's rewarding in one sense, because this is the language of Goloka Vrindavan. So the translation to text 62. Verstehst du genug Englisch? Ja. Aber Kishore, hast du ein Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? Oder? Ja, okay, es ist da. Sie ist beschäftigt. Du kannst 62 bis 64 die Text lesen, wenn du möchtest, Kishore. Dann the book is nur da, Sie könnten vielleicht selbst lesen. Ja, okay, translation. When Dhruva Maharaj, the son of the king, was thus advised by the great sage Narada, he circumambulated Narada, his spiritual master, and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvana, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, and which is therefore especially auspicious. So just to rerun, we are in chapter 8, Dhruva Maharaj leaves home. So for those who missed a few classes along the way, Dhruva Maharaj was sort of insulted by the wife, his stepmother of the king, and at this point, as a 5-year-old, he is determined to leave home, and he seeks refuge with Narada. And Narada advises him to go to Madhuvana, which is one of the forests by the Yamuna in Vrindavan. So he is going in this direction. Text 63. Tapovanam gate tasmin pravisto nitapuram munihi ahita nako rajnya sukhasina uvachatam. Translation. After Dhruva entered Madhuvan forest to execute devotional service, the great sage Narada thought it wise to go to the king to see how he was faring within the palace. When Narada Muni approached, the king received him properly, offering him due obeisances. After being seated comfortably, Narada began to speak. Text 64. Narada uvacha Rajan kim dayashe nirkam murkena parushusyata kim vanorishyate kamo dharmavatana samyutaha. So for this we will do word by word sort of translation, okay? Narada uvacha, the great sage Narada Muni said, Rajan, my dear king, Kim, what? Dayase, thinking of. Dirkam, very deeply. Mukena, with your face. Parishushyata, as if drying up. Kimva, whether. Na, not. Rishyate, being lost. Kamaha, sense gratification. Dharmaha, religious rituals. Shiva, or Atena, with economic development. Samyutaha, along with. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The great sage Narada inquired, "My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification?" Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The 4 stages of advancement of human civilization are religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and for some, the stage of liberation. Narada Muni did not inquire from the king about his liberation, but only regarding the state management, which is meant for advancement of the 3 principles: religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Since those who engage in such activities are not interested in liberation, Narada did not inquire from the king about this. Liberation is meant for persons who have lost all interest in religious, ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, and sense gratification. Once more the translation. The great sage Narada inquired, "My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification?" I feel like the microphone is attacking me. Om Ganya discharge means like you So at this point, Dhruva has gone on the first verse 62. He goes to his forest, and Narada Muni thinks, okay, let's go check on the king. Yeah, so he's with the king, and I smiled a little bit when we were reading the Sanskrit, because there was this word parishyushyata. It says as if drying up. This is what's in the translation as withering up, because I'm a native English speaker. And I don't know, are you all aware of the meaning of withering? Like, of course you're Australian, withering, you're basically like, it's drying up like a leaf after a few days. It's like this. Now, normally, in terms of a person, we might be like, if we're really bothered by something and we look a little bit grey and we're like, oh, why are you withering up? Yeah, in this way. So, at this point, the king Uttanapada, the father of Dhruva, is feeling a lot of remorse for basically having let his son go off to the forest without stopping him or protecting him. And tomorrow we will hear about this is due to his lust for his first wife, who's not the son of Dhruva. Yeah, so he's so attached to his wife that her harsh words that she utters to Dhruva to say that he will never have the rightful place on a throne, he doesn't correct. He just allows that insult to go by. So Dhruva is then off and going off. So he's feeling very bad. And actually, Narada Muni comes to this point, and maybe I shouldn't say too much ahead, but he basically reassures the father in one sense. And at this moment, particularly in this verse, he's asking about this path, what Srila Prabhupada calls the stages of advancement of human civilization. So we spoke about religious rites. This word directly in the verse is dharma. Yeah, so dharma, when we follow a life of righteousness with moral. Are you okay? The live stream is not on. You know this, Dean? The live stream is not on. Thank you. How do you? Oh. Somebody wrote a message. Live stream is not on. Sometimes I get questions via WhatsApp for those who know me from live streams, so it's interesting. It's on now? Or can you check it? Is Mariana or someone else? I don't know. The worst is if it's working but the volume is muted. Make your... Yeah, it's on? Okay, super. Sorry. So, I suppose if there are any internet viewers, just to recap, we are just on this verse where the great sage Narada goes to King Uttanapada and asks him, why is your face so dried up? Why is it withered up? What are you thinking about for so long? And is it because something has bothered you on your path of religious rights, economic development, and sense gratification? So the first point there is that, they're talking about human advancement and different things which are not exactly according to Bhakti Yoga. But most people may say that we're also following a religion, or some sort of religion. But if you see earlier on, I think, where is it? In verse 34. One moment. Verse 41, I think. In verse 41, in the purport, Prabhupada explains that this performance of ritualistic ceremonies is not actually religion. So the point there, particularly this was something which is very much in one's background if you grow up with an Indian background. So people perform religious activities so that they can be wealthy, healthy, and have happiness in some sense. That's the point. So you grow up on this path of, okay, I pray to the Lord, because I want to get a new job. I pray to the Lord because I want to get a good wife. I pray to the Lord for this. It's just, you're not really looking for anything more than your personal activities in this material world. Yeah, so that's the differentiation. And of course, Prabhupada writes that the real path of religion is to surrender at the lotus feet of the Lord. And then we also have this verse Artha, which means economic development, which is also on the same way that you may perform religious duties or anything else just to feel comfortable in this world. Nobody wants to be homeless, I guess. So it's on this. And the last one, karma, like karma, not karma, karma, sense gratification. This is where this joyful word karmis comes from. So in terms of whatever we do to gratify our senses, basically. There may be, sometimes this word is taken a little bit completely out of context. For some things we may have to do things. We may have to eat something just to survive and like this, just to get ourselves through the day. But generally there is a difference when our whole life is lived just to satisfy our senses. Just the next thing to the next. Get the money, go out partying here, there, just buy the biggest house, the next car, the best, get the best wife like this. This is your whole aspiration in life. Just to accumulate more and more and more. Jai Nishingadev. Some of us may have come from this background. Some of us may have come from also a more spiritual-based background where there was a search for something more. And that was the question that came up when I read through these verses. A question for us all. What are our aspirations in life? In one moment, I'm sure all of us may say, "I want to serve the Lord." Huh? We heard this answer. But what are our true aspirations in life when we go beyond the correct answers, the right things that need to be said? Is it that we want to surrender to the Lord? It could be. Or there could be something quite specific. Amira is drawing a little smile, but I won't ask her. It could be that we want to be happy. It could be that we want some money, some security to live a good life. I certainly fell in the realm of wanting to live a good life. So a dharmic life, be good, do good to others, be charitable, not harm anyone else. Hopefully they don't harm me. Just get through, get through that time and space that we have. And in this chapter, if you go through the purport of Srila Prabhupada, you will see that at one moment it said, if you are looking for any of these religious, for your religious, to follow a religious way of economic development, sense gratification, if you're really interested in these things, maybe Bhakti Yoga isn't the path. And then it's like, what does it mean? Yeah, it goes on earlier as well to say that although there may be aspirations that we have or needs in our life, if we get the main principle that even the demigods, like say the Indians would come and worship Durga, I come from a Durga type family, worship Durga for wealth. If you understand the point that the demigods and the devatas are under the worship and guidance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, why not go directly to the source? So for whatever you need, go directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's very beautiful, so I will read a part of this purport. So for Dean, this is so 41, the purport of the same chapter, 41. Okay, which part? I don't read the whole thing because it's too long. Okay. Except the sentence is super long. In mine, I think it's the third sentence, Dean, from actually the demigods, but in German it could be a different chromatic composition. So actually the demigods cannot give any benediction without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. Narada Muni therefore advised that even for religiosity, economic development, sense gratification or liberation, one should approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offer prayers, and ask for the fulfillment of one's desire at the lotus feet of the Lord. I read this again, just the last part. One should approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offer prayers, and ask for the fulfillment of one's desire at the lotus feet of the Lord. That is real intelligence. An intelligent person never goes to demigods to pray for anything. He goes directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of all benediction. And then the last chapter in this purport. Narada Muni therefore advised Dhruva Maharaj to take shelter of Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, and engage himself in that way that his mother has advised, for that would help him fulfill his desire. In this verse, Narada Muni has especially stressed the devotional service of the Lord as the only way. In other words, even if one is full of material desires, he can continue his devotional service to the Lord and all his desires will be fulfilled. I stress this point because it can be, certainly in my years in Simhachalam, mostly the devotees who approach me don't come to me to tell me, unless it's maybe a festival, everything is wonderful, everything is great. It's more a question of the struggles that we go. The struggles of our daily life. So the struggle is often this element of the material needs that come up in our lives, right? Langsamer. Okay, langsamer, They said slower, so I was thinking I was quite slow, but obviously not. What was it we were chanting and I thought I was quick, but actually I was slow. So it seems I have no concept of time, yeah? So I'm sorry. The aspect of our desires in this material world are quite deep. We are mostly Westerners. I am a Westerner in a brown body. This is not really a joke, but it is so. And in that, this idea of surrendering everything to Krishna on a practical level is quite hard. On a philosophical way, sounds good, sounds decent and good, and probably it's the reason that most of us are here, or to try to surrender to the Lord. Mira has told me that she wants to be here to serve Lord Nrsimhadev. Petra has told me that she wants to learn more about this way of bhakti yoga. What about you? What is your inspiration for being here? I think you need a microphone. I can give you mine because it's...
Haribo. I am trying to be a better person. A better person by getting over or rising above things that I see negative in myself. Maybe I get angry or I get irritated, and the path that has helped me the most, surprise, is bhakti yoga. So yeah, helping others helps me.
I'm here to learn more about Krishna, and as well the meditation parts, as also the serving parts. So I get more, I don't know what, more taste, yeah, to serve the Lord. That's nearly it. I see.
That, Gopi Gita, when you were telling about that, okay, we all want to serve Krishna, like Nrsimhadev, okay, he's this form, but in reality it might be something else behind this, yeah? Like it's, yeah, and then I was thinking that in reality, like for me, it would be that I just feel like really like good when I'm doing like what is right, like, okay, I have choose this path. I feel that I'm in harmony, like with this like laws, yeah, and I'm doing exactly what was like my body is supposed to do, yeah, and then I feel like very happy, and yeah, so that's like the reason why I'm serving, because if it would not be like this, then I don't think that I would be here, So for me, it's more about like you follow your dharma, and that's why you feel good, that you just follow your dharma.
Also mir ging es in erster Linie um spirituelle Gemeinschaft.
So, yeah, so primarily it was about spiritual association for me.
Zu Hause hatte ich eigentlich alles. Ich hatte die Bücher, die hatte ich alle schon zweimal gelesen. Ich hatte spirituelle Gemeinschaft so insofern von den Charukan-Filmen, wo das ganze vedische Wissen verfilmt wurde. Ich hatte, ja, ein bisschen Gemeinschaft hatte ich in meiner Familie, aber ansonsten fehlte mir einfach die spirituelle Gemeinschaft. Und
So actually I had everything at home, so I read the books like 2 times. I had spiritual association through the Chalkan movies, and also association within my family. But
Das hast du jetzt schon übersetzt. Okay, danke. Ja, das war eigentlich alles. Ich hatte 3 Altäre zu Hause. Ich hatte, mein Krishna war da und also so fühlte ich mich wohl. Aber wenn ich die Wohnung verließ und ging raus in die Stadt, habe ich Guru auch gesagt, dann hatte ich immer Angst, Krishna zu vergessen. Weil die anderen materiellen Einflüsse, die da auf mich einwirkten, die, ja, mit denen habe ich mich nicht wohl gefühlt. Und ja, und darum, und dann kam ich hierher.
So, but when I went out on the street, I was always afraid that I forgot Krishna because of all the material influence.
Und dann kam ich hierher und traf Prithu und Prithu sagte, du musst hierher ziehen, du gehörst hierher. Die bauen die Scheune aus und dann kriegst du da ein Zimmer mit Küche und Bad. Ja, und gut, es war nicht so in Erfüllung gegangen, aber das war mir auch nicht so wichtig. Wichtig war mir wirklich so die Gemeinschaft hier und in einer im spirituellen Umkreis täglich zu sein.
Yeah, so I met Prithu Prabhu at the farm, and then he said, "Yeah, you should move in, and then you get a room, bathroom, whatever, everything." That didn't actually work out in the end, but it still was about spiritual association. So, yeah. Yeah, I would like to cultivate, study, commit to pure devotional service, and attain Krishna, understand Krishna, and attain Krishna Prema.
Sometimes I wonder if it's or not. Sometimes I wonder if people avoid classes because they know I make it interactive. But people who like to stay awake, come. Purusha Simha, when he first came into the temple shop, and I asked him, like, how long are you here? And his words were, yeah, until I die, like this. And I've been here 12 years, so nobody ever said that to me before. It was a unique answer. So it was a little speech loss, And then I thought he was making a joke. And he said, no, really? Oh, stimmt das? Yeah. So he smiles now, but it was like, yes, until I die. Okay, so it's really a nice level of commitment, and I thought, okay, 2 weeks, he'll be gone. Yeah, it's been, this was like maybe a year and a half ago or longer, so it's quite some time already. Yeah, it's interesting. I was just away, some of you might have known, like a whirlwind at the weekend in Golokadam. So I feel like I had 1 foot in Simhachalam and 1 foot in Golokadam, because I was traveling, in the space of 2 days between both places. And Sachinanda Swami was there, as some of you may know, and he spoke a lot on this point of authenticity. So nice. It was very nice. It was a very authentic look. Authenticity refers to this word of being who we actually are. Yeah, we're not pretending. And someone put their hand up and said, But how can we be authentic when we're still on the early levels of Krishna consciousness? Because that we're still acting basically on a lower mode where we don't want to chant, we don't want to wake up in the morning, we don't really want to do any service. Along these modes, what is the authentic self then? And so we were given different hints along the way in terms of understanding our higher goal of where we want to be. Then the next track is to understand our dharma. So what is it that we want to do for Krishna? What is it that we have an ability to do for Krishna? And what is the need? So with accumulation of those, it gives us a sense of how to find our dharma. So at the beginning, when we come to the temple, most of us are cleaning or in the kitchen like this. But over some time, we try to develop what is more fitting our personality. And then the third part of our sort of authentic self was maybe, fulfilling those parts that we need to satisfy what's needed. So for example, we may need a home or a room or basic food or like this. So it takes into consideration all of these. Was that hard? So yeah, so there was three tracks there, sort of understanding the higher path in life. The second, trying to find how we fit it into it with our dharma, and the last one, to have that balance up of what our, in one sense, what our senses may need. We normally need to eat something, and a lot of us have special diets these days or whatever else, just to, be healthy and able to function. And this is an interesting aspect, because it talks about not running away when we have troubling times in Krishna consciousness, but actually trying to be very conscious in terms of what's needed in our lives, sort of in general, that we have a goal. That goal, I was also told when I studied Nectar of Devotion, it's important that we know what that goal is for us. So we have read, for example, in Nectar of Devotion, that we should remember Krishna and not forget Krishna. But how that aspires in our life and what is true and real for us is different for all of us. Often, although a mirror might say there may be something behind it, when there was that real desire, I want to be here, I want to be specifically here in Simhachalam to serve the Lord. This is often actually a very true part of us. Just sometimes spiritual life doesn't seem so real. Material life seems more real. What I can touch, what I can feel, what I can do. But that's only our lifetimes of entanglement in this world, right? As we try to move away from this aspect, and of course I struggle with it, on a daily basis, as we move away, we see that these aspirations that we had, which somehow touched the spiritual line, were much truer than other things along the path. And that's the point. It's like I wrote to my friends yesterday, I said, was it just a dream I came back from? Because in this festival where there were many, many devotees, there was really an exchange of affection and spiritual thoughts and talks, and a very uplifting atmosphere. As one feels, I think many people felt it here for Nityananda Triyodashi. At one point, everybody was dancing. All the Prabhus, all the Matajis, even those who couldn't dance were sort of tapping. One felt somehow a little bit of the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And then you may convince yourself, oh no, I needed just a bit of exercise, or I needed just to move. But let's look at the higher point, that maybe the Lord moved us a little bit to dance for Him. And in these moments where we just moments where we capture this feeling of connection to the Supreme. These are actually real. And sometimes because they are so fleeting for us, they are here and then gone, we may not understand that this was actually real, and the lives that we normally live in is actually the joys of the material world. Yeah. Often I also speak about this aspect when we move away from just fulfilling our material needs and following this life of bhakti yoga. There is a subtle shift between things on the looking at things on the material plane or on a spiritual plane. I was the treasurer here for many years, luckily many years before. And I'd worked with numbers. Numbers go quite easy with me. And usually you would be able to fulfill, what would you call it? Dean, maybe help me out. You know when you predict forecast. Yes, thank you very much. Our IT man. We forecast what may be needed in the forthcoming year and set an according budget. Sorry, it's a little boring. But here it was just impossible. Of course we did something. It was impossible. And some days I thought, it doesn't make sense. I have an analytical brain. Even emotions I deal with in this way. So Lord Nrsingadev, it doesn't appear that we have enough money to pay your bills. It was just not enough. And then within 2-3 days the money would somehow appear. I mean, somehow appear every time. There was not one time that it was really like, oh my God, we just can't get through. And sometimes on a farm such as this, there are huge bills, huge, just for this wood chips, 10,000 euros. So in this level, I just heard another lecture by Satchidananda Swami yesterday, when we don't fully know if Krishna is really there, how we feel him and see him is through the examples of our daily life. When these things come up and you're like, I don't really know how to do this, but okay, something happens and you're like, this seems really like it was the Lord's arrangement. The Lord had his hand in this to show me this was it. I've heard it often happens when you push yourself and you go on something like Sankirtan, and devotees, and they struggle and they don't know, they're never going to distribute a book, and they think, okay, why not, let's pray now. And all of a sudden somebody comes and may take a book along the lines. I'm not such a good Sankirtan devotee, but at one point I really prayed and Krishna gave mercy, and then I could have a book. I could distribute one book. So it's along these lines of where our aspirations, what do we need to feel balanced, so on that sort of material level, but to also then take it another level up, not to hold ourselves back in terms of what is it that could be my dharma, what is it that I could give to the devotees. And to try to see if I can use that skill or that ability that the Lord has given us in Krishna's service. And then yes, of course, the higher point is at some point then the focus is just on the lotus feet of the Lord, and it transpires away. And I look in the room and I see there's many people which have skills. I still think of gardening. When I see you, I'm sure you have other skills as well that you like to do. But you like still to be in the garden? Yeah. Not so often. What do you like to do? Whatever. This is also nice. This is a perfect level of surrender. When somebody says, okay, could you do this? And you say yes. They say, have you done it before? No? But okay, let's give it a go. Paramatma Krishna Prabhu, our known famous Sankirtan devotee, is famous for this. I was told our car crashed. Devotee didn't look left, so our car crashed. The motor was gone, the temple car, and the temple president approached me and said, okay, what do we do? And I'm like, well, I've heard Paramatma Krishna Prabhu can fix everything. I was quite a little naive. So he called him up. And I said, well, the temple president found a new motor for the car. Like the motor is the biggest part, right? So normally if the car is that bad, you just find a new car. So we found a new motor, the main body. And so I said, Paramatma Krishna Prabhu, is it possible you could come and put the new motor in? And he thought for a moment. Yeah, okay. And then he turned up here, looking very well equipped. And I came and I said, did you do this before? And he looked at me and said, no, I never did this before. But Krishna willing, it will happen. Like this. It's like, this is big, this is not like a small. He managed to make it work. Some people are, one sees some empowerment of the Lord, therefore, right? So this car was then running with this new motor that he had never tried to do before. And in this way, one sees that the impossible becomes possible. Yeah. What is the in our lives? It can be it will be where we are. We can feel like this king withering up, drying up. But the main point that gives me joy is if you always just to find the higher parts that give you life in spiritual life, the higher experiences. So for example, I'm not a kirtanya, but I know those who love to sing for the Lord. It's very important when they're feeling a bit dry to go to the Lord to sing for Him. I focus more on chanting, for example, as we've done in the ashram as well. Also, when the mind is playing tricks or whatever, it's always best to read something from Shastra, something that gives us some life to able to answer those doubts. Many different things that come up. And it's also good in terms of looking for the authentic self, not to repress one's own thoughts. It doesn't mean that one has to open them up to everybody, but at least oneself, and then to speak to a senior or somebody that you have some faith in to try to overcome them. Ananda Krishna Prabhu says often there is no problem in having doubts. The point there is to express them and to go through them like this. And also the other side of it is there is no problem to be content in Krishna conscious too. Sometimes we are like happy and then the mind kicks in and tells us, oh, I have this and this trouble. Sometimes just allowing oneself to be happy that we got up, we somehow managed to be standing in front of Lord Nrsingadev, to sit here, to serve Him, helps along the way too, to be present in that moment. And then when we feel that, no, I'm just whatever, some kami or something else, then we can understand, well, whatever we are, if we try to put that towards the Lord's service, then we really can take our spiritual life to a different dimension, where we feel content in what we are able to do for Him. And all of us here, mostly we live here, we are in a very fortunate position to have that in our lives. Oh, you have a question? Or Amira, what do you think about any of what I've said? You look like you have a... Wait, you have to speak because there's people online. It doesn't matter, it's just
Yeah, I was just thinking about when you said that we should be happy, and then I was thinking about how usually I become very unhappy as soon as any problem comes. And then usually you can even see me immediately changing my face. Yeah, and I was thinking like that in reality, like how to be happy when you even experience a problem. Because for me, I don't have this experience, like that some problem comes and I'm like, wow, thank you, Narasimhadev, that you sent it to me. Yeah, no, usually I'm like, Narasimhadev, what? Why are you sending this? Take it away. And then I was thinking that if I would be really, like not lose my spirits when some problem comes, and because then I'm feeling that I'm adding more this like depressing mood, like, and who wants to like deal with a person in depression? I guess no one. So I was thinking that if I take all the problems like more in a lighter way, let's say, that not too serious, then maybe it will help me to speak with other people, and to find some like solution to all of it. The only question how to learn it, because how deep is the same reaction.
Very interesting. On this point, I was careful not to say the word to be happy. Satchidananda Swami made this point just a few days ago, that it's very hard to be happy in this material world, because with it comes the other side. The words sukh und dukkha, one is happiness, one is distress. This is unfortunate part of our Kali Yuga world. It's that it's a cycle. He did say we could try to be content with what we have. It's just a little bit different, sort of to be sort of content with what we are able to do. For me, this translates into there is always a drive within myself. If I do something, let me do more of it. Let me do more. And illness comes up, or children, something comes up, and then I'm like, see, I knew I'm a useless devotee. I can't do this, or I could do more, but I'm not. And that's the point where just, an authentic self, we just acknowledge, okay, I'm trying to serve the Lord. This is what I can do. Please, dear Lord, accept that, even if it may be limited. And please, in the same way, accept me. The Lord is far more forgiving than we are sometimes. He's far more pleased by what small service we are able to give Him than our own estimations of ourselves. But if that Lord, who is so happy, just when a child, a child who is unclean, gives a flower to the Lord, is so happy, then why not let ourselves also be happy with the small service we can give Him? This was it's a shift. It's just a shift in our own expectations. The material world drives us to a point that most of it is just about how much we can do. We are driven this way. You've been working a long time outside, and me also. So we know this world. This is just like import, output. There is just like a drive to be there. That if we use that same thinking in our spiritual life, things just fall apart. Because even if we have ability, Krishna sometimes does put something else for us to learn, what we should learn in our spiritual lives, rather than just, have a guest house with 50 perfect rooms, for example. So it's that element. It's taken me some years to understand that it's a shift in understanding, but part of it is to be satisfied. Try to be satisfied if you are able to give something to the Lord. Yeah? To be like, okay, today I cleaned your temple room. Please accept that as service to you. If there's something more that you would like me to do, please help for that to come up, This is the mood. Otherwise, this sort of drive each time can throw us off, and then we feel defeated in spiritual life, And then we go outside, get a very good job, and we're able to fulfill what we need and say, okay, see, I can do something. Checklist, tick, tick, tick. Yeah? It doesn't, spiritual life is very different in this way. You know? I just put some sort of food for thought, Amira, in such a thought, because I think it's with the different devotees who have approached me, and it's not just Mataji, it's Prabhu's also in the time, this element of a question between what do I need to do for my material life? Isn't that sense gratification? Doesn't that make me a bad devotee? You know, dot, what am I doing here? You know, it's like a downward trail, like you say, a depressive thought downer. It's just to swing that thought over, to keep the thoughts in a line with Krishna, is, okay, I have these needs. Like, it was mentioned sometimes when you have lived a long time outside, by yourself, then living in an ashram may not be most suitable, especially if it's a cramped ashram. It could be like this. And so there is a balance up. One may need to get a job and live outside and be near a temple community, for example. When one is sick and you cannot attend all the programs, then one tries to render service but needs extra attention to bring that health up again, you know? For example, it's like, unfortunately in this material, it's a balance up. I was also like, oh, come on, material life, I thought I'd come to a temple and forget about it. And then you have children and it's paperwork and this, and oh God, you know, it's a big thing in the outside world you forgot to fill something in. But it says in Nectar of Devotion, do not neglect your ordinary dealings, yeah? So we still have to deal with this stuff outside, but it, you know, we do it with a prayer that he helps with the other side too. The main point I'm trying to say, Amira, just as a summary, is just the main thing in such a thing is a shift in consciousness. And that the end destination or the end point, the end goal is not about doing so much. It's much more about what the consciousness behind it is. And when the consciousness is affected, it's much better to take a step, you know, a slow step down, to revisit whatever is happening in that time, and to try to restart with a consciousness to serve the Lord. Does this make sense? If you think, I'm going to surrender to the Lord, and for 2 weeks I will just do 24 hours of service, blum, 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 da-da. And at the end, you wonder why you got burnt out. You wonder why you're fed up. You wonder why you don't want to serve the Lord. It's because there was no real balance in there. There was a desire, but the consciousness was not involved, that every time you did an action, the mind, body, thoughts, everything was serving the Lord. You see in the very senior devotees, like Srila Prabhupada, they could take very little sleep and do things because the consciousness was purified in a different way. But what level we are at, we should, this is okay to see this balance up. And much better, just as when you're chanting and you lose the attention, it's advised that you slow down a bit, catch the Maha Mantra again and speed up. It's the same way with our seva. Yeah? Just catch yourself. It just a little bit of consciousness is enough of what it takes sometimes. You see some devotees are quite good, like Brian, temple commander, is a hard role in Simhachalam. But sometimes I've seen him, he's like, okay, it's too much. I will just read a little bit and take some rest and then I'll be okay. And then check the next day, he's better again. Because he's checked it before we've got to burnout stage, right? So the balance up there. So, in conclusion, in the prayer to Lord Nrsimhadev, that our aspirations go closer in lines of serving his lotus feet, and he gives us also the strength for us to lead a balanced life and to be accepting of whatever our inner needs may also be. Wish you a wonderful day in trying to serve him. Yeah, all the best. Hare Krishna. Krishna. It's okay. Sorry if anyone wants to say something or. Prasadam side. Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.